Hello everyone. In this video, we will cover the first topic of the life processes chapter in biology, that is nutrition. Nutrition refers to the intake and utilization of nutrients. It is divided into two major categories, autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is further divided into two types, photosynthesis and chemosynthesis. Heterotrophic nutrition is of three types, holozoic, saprophytic, and parasitic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition. It is the process of intake of inorganic or simple substances from outside, synthesizing them into organic substances, and then converting them into energy. Autotrophic nutrition is carried out by green plants, algae, and certain bacteria. Starch is the energy reserve in plants. It is a linear chain of glucose. Photosynthesis. Three steps take place in photosynthesis. Sunlight is first absorbed by chlorophyll. The sunlight which is absorbed is then converted into chemical energy, that is ATP and NADPH. Simultaneously, water is split into hydrogen and oxygen in a process called photolysis. In the final step, carbon dioxide is reduced into carbohydrates. That is, carbon dioxide is converted into glucose. Reduction refers to the gain of hydrogen in this case. Here is the balanced chemical reaction for photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil, which is taken in by the plant, reacts in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll to form glucose and give out oxygen and water as byproducts. Remember that the first and second step is directly dependent on sunlight and is therefore called a light reaction, whereas the third step does not directly depend on sunlight and so is called a dark reaction. Desert plants breathe only at night and not during daytime, as there would be excess water loss due to transpiration through stomata. However, both carbon dioxide as well as sunlight is required for photosynthesis. So, how do desert plants carry out photosynthesis? When the stomata opens at night, the plant takes up carbon dioxide from the air. This carbon dioxide is stored in the plant in the form of an intermediate. During daytime, this intermediate is acted upon by the energy absorbed by chlorophyll. This is how photosynthesis is carried out in desert plants. Nitrogen is a very important element, which is used in the synthesis of protein and other compounds. It is taken up in the form of inorganic nitrites and nitrates. It is also taken up as organic compounds prepared by bacteria from the atmospheric nitrogen. Let us now observe this cross-section of a leaf. As we can see, there is a chain of single-layered cells both on the top and the bottom of the leaf. This is called the upper and lower epidermis. The upper epidermis has a waxy cuticle on top, which reduces water loss through transpiration. Respiration takes place only in the lower epidermis, as the upper part of the leaf is directly exposed to sunlight and would lose excess water through transpiration if the stomatal pore opens up in the upper epidermis. Let us now divide the cross-sectional diagram into four parts. As we know, the first and the last section is the upper and the lower epidermis. The second part is called the palisade mesophyll, while the third part is called the spongy mesophyll. Collectively, they are referred to as the mesophyll tissue, and it's primarily responsible for photosynthesis. Palisade mesophyll mainly carries out photosynthesis, as it contains more chloroplasts than the spongy mesophyll. Epidermis does not have any chloroplasts except for guard cells. Thus, in the epidermis, only guard cells carry out photosynthesis. The diagram of the guard cells and stomata that you see above is important for the next topic, that is, how guard cells control the opening and closing of stomata. At daytime, photosynthesis occurs in the guard cells, which result in starch formation. Starch is accumulated in the guard cells and thus solute concentration increases. Through osmosis, water moves into the guard cells, causing it to swell. This swelling causes the stomatal pore to open. At night, as no photosynthesis occurs, starch or solute concentration is less in the guard cells, while there is excess solvent concentration. Thus, water moves out of the guard cells, causing it to shrink, and this results in the closing of the stomatal pore. Let us now move on to heterotrophic nutrition. As we saw earlier, heterotrophic nutrition is of three types: holozoic, saprophytic, and parasitic. In holozoic nutrition, organisms ingest and digest solid food and then absorb the nutrients. Digestion occurs internally. However, in saprophytic nutrition, organisms feed on dead and decaying matter by secreting digestive enzymes externally and then absorbing the nutrients. Parasitic nutrition involves deriving nutrition from a host body without killing them by living on or inside its body. Nutrition in amoeba. All the life processes in amoeba are carried out by its single cell. To take in a food particle, amoeba forms false feet known as pseudopodia, which fuse over the particle. This forms a food vacuole. Inside the food vacuole, complex substances are broken down. This broken down substances diffuse into the cytoplasm of the cell. Undigested food is moved to the surface of the cell and thrown out. Nutrition in paramecium. Paramecium has a definite shape and food is taken to a definite spot. Food is moved to this spot by the movement of cilia, which covers the entire surface of the cell. Cilia are hair-like structures that facilitate movement. Coming to a very important topic: nutrition in human beings. The human digestive system involves mastication, swallowing, and digestion of food, absorption of nutrients, and finally elimination of waste material. Here is a flow chart of the different organs of the alimentary canal. Accessory organs are organs that indirectly help in the digestion process by secreting enzymes or other substances that aid in the breakdown of food. They do not directly process food. Liver, pancreas, and gallbladder are the accessory organs. Digestion in the mouth. The buccal cavity consists of the tongue, teeth, and salivary glands. Mechanical and chemical digestion happens in the mouth. So, what happens in our mouth when we chew food? Our saliva contains an enzyme called salivary amylase, which breaks down the starch in the food. Then the food passes through the pharynx, which is the common passage for food and air, and then the esophagus. Esophagus is a collapsible muscular tube with no enzymes for digestion but mucus glands. It carries food by peristalsis. What is peristalsis? It is the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the muscles in the alimentary canal that facilitates movement of food. Digestion in the stomach. The stomach lining has gastric glands that secrete three major substances. These are pepsinogen, which is an inactive enzyme; HCl, that provides an acidic environment for pepsinogen to activate into pepsin, which digests the proteins in our stomach. HCl also kills bacteria. And lastly, mucus, which protects the lining of the stomach from HCl. Digestion in the small intestine. Intestine is the largest part of the alimentary canal. Both digestion and absorption takes place in the small intestine. Here, food is mixed with pancreatic juice, bile juice, and intestinal juice. Trypsinogen is an enzyme in the pancreatic juice, which acts upon proteins in the small intestine once activated to trypsin. To activate, it needs a basic environment, which is provided by sodium bicarbonate. The intestine's inner lining has finger-like projections called villi, which increases surface area for absorption. The villi have projections called microvilli. Let us now understand the functions of the three accessory organs of the digestive system. The pancreas secretes pancreatic juice, which contains trypsinogen, lipase, which breaks down fats into fatty acids, and glycerol, amylase, which breaks down starch in sugars, and sodium bicarbonate, which provides a basic medium for trypsinogen to get activated. Bile juice is secreted in the liver and stored in the gallbladder. It carries out emulsification. Emulsification is the process in which large fat globules are broken down into smaller fat globules so that the lipase enzyme can act on them. It is done by the bile salts in the bile juice. Large intestine. This is where unabsorbed food is sent. Water is absorbed here and feces is formed, which is temporarily stored in the rectum. Egestion happens via the anus. Anal sphincter can contract and relax, thus regulating the flow of exit of waste material out of the body. Before we conclude, here is a list of the important terms that we studied in digestion in human beings. These are the terms that students most often get confused with. Pause the video and go through these terms a couple times. With this, we come to the end of the first part of Life Processes Nutrition. Hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching.